Well, unfortunately, that era is coming to a close, and I hate to say it, but that was just the ultimate era in music.
It was a damn good era. I mean, I listen to a lot more stuff than you do.
Sure.
And it keeps it alive for me, I guess, but it's a great era, man. I mean, the whole scene, not just the music, but the whole going out and, the party that came with it. And, even if you weren't like, I know you were out in LA, so you actually kind of lived it a little bit more than like I did.
Sure.
But it was still, that era was such a, you didn't just go to a show. It was an event.
It was, absolutely. It was an event.
I remember one of the first shows I remember going to myself without my mom was Kiss with Black and Blue. And that was whatever the All Night tour was. Was that 84, 85?
I think it was 84.
Yeah, whatever year that was. I don't remember exactly. But I went to that show, and I mean, I was a kid. I was 15 years old or whatever. And we went to the show. Literally, we left from school and went to the show.
Mm-hmm.
And hung out and partied in the parking lot at the old Coliseum for hours until like 8:00 when Black and Blue came on. And then we went in and watched Black and Blue and then Kiss, and it was great. And I mean, but it was this whole fucking thing. And you did that every time. All the times I saw Metallica, I never went and walked into Metallica in time for Metallica, or in time for the opening band. There was always 4 hours of partying beforehand.
Sure.
And that was all the way until like 97 or 8 that I was still doing that Metallica was still like an event. And the last time I saw Metallica, I showed up late, kind of on purpose. Lamb of God was playing. Poked my head in for about a minute. Watched about a minute of Lamb of God and was like, fuck that. I'm going to go look at merch. I just wasn't into it. And then Metallica was okay. That was on Death Magnetic Tour. And Metallica was okay. I mean, they weren't bad necessarily, but they were, I don't know. I was turned off at the end when they dropped the fucking beach balls because they became that band.
Right.
They stopped. What drew me to Metallica was that edge.
Yeah, they went from being the edgy metal, in your face, fuck you attitude to, hey, we're the popular mass appeal band.
Here's some beach balls. You guys knock those around while we play Enter Sandman.
Sure.
It was fucking shitty, and I was like embarrassed for them.
Yeah.
I really was embarrassed for Metallica. I was like, what happened to you guys?
Well, that's all commercialization.
Just sad.
Yep.
And I mean, like, I haven't seen them in a while, and I know you saw them, a year or so ago, or 2 years, I think it's been now.
Yeah.
But Megadeth still brings that fire, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I Nathan from Kentucky invited me out to the show here locally, and I went out, and, it wasn't an arena show.
Mm-hmm.
But they were out there just being Megadeth.
Sure. Oh, it's just like I saw the last band that I saw was Anthrax, or I guess I saw Soto after that, but the last big show I saw was Anthrax. In the winter, a couple months ago, 4 months ago, or whatever it was. And Anthrax brought it pretty fucking hard. I mean, Joey Belladonna was still running. I mean, he's got to be in his mid-50s, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's probably about 55, 56.
Dude, I swear to God, I have not had the energy that he had on that stage in 30 years. That fucking guy is really running around and just going crazy. And it was fun because I even told you, I said he ran out of air because he ran, his first gig of the tour, and he just ran nonstop. And so that at the end, he couldn't breathe. He couldn't breathe to sing the last one or two songs, but that was okay because, they as a band brought it really, really strong. So there are bands that are out there that are from this era that still could bring it.
Sure.
Armored Saint brought it pretty strong when I saw them.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to seeing them the first week of June with Metal Church.
And I heard Metal Church. I didn't get to see that show because I was in the wrong city in the wrong days. But I heard Metal Church brought it really, really strong, with Mike Howe back.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard that Saxon was fantastic the night that I went home. I should have stayed for that show. But, Saxon, how old are they? They got to be.
Well, they came in the late 70s. So, we're talking 40 years, too.
Biff Byford has to be 65 years old.
Well, if you figure, say Saxon was
20 in 19
in their mid, early 20s back in 78?
8 or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, so we're talking almost 40 years now.
Yeah, so that puts him in their 60s.
Yeah, so he's in his mid 60s.
Yeah, and from everything I've heard, they were fucking unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
So there are certainly bands that are still bringing it pretty hard. Slayer, everybody I talk to that sees Slayer says that while they don't like, some of the new music, says that they still bring it really pretty hard too.
And I heard that Accept still really brings it hard.
Sure, absolutely. So there are bands that are doing it well, but then there's, I almost think it's the hair bands that aren't. If you really want to narrow down to it, the hair bands are the ones that are having all this drama and have gone to shit. Can you think of one that really hasn't deteriorated a lot?
Well, if you want to talk hair bands, obviously Firehouse.
Yeah.
They're still pretty solid, and the return of Trickster with the original members.
Mm-hmm.
They do what they do,
right?
And the return of Lita, which she's considered a solo act,
right?
But
does she do? I'm not a fan.
Yeah, she sounds fine. I saw her, like I said, about 6 weeks ago, and she sounded like Lita.
And LA Guns is usually...
Oh, yeah. LA Guns. As strange as it is, no matter how many lineup changes they've had, as long as Steve and Phil are running the ship,
right?
They can get a replacement guitarist and bassist and still come out sounding like LA Guns. It's the weirdest damn thing.
Yeah.
Because I've seen them with probably half a dozen different lineups.
Right.
And they always sound like LA Guns, regardless.
Yeah.
So it's just weird.
It is. But we named 5 bands, and then the rest of them are kind of, and I'm not even saying it as a negative, but they've diminished in skill.
Sure they have.
And that's pretty much all of the rest of them, and that goes from Dokken to Van Halen to, whoever else you want to name.
Even Night Ranger is still out there touring around.
They were good when they...
Let's see, you saw them, so you know that they performed well.
Yeah, they were very good.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. It is definitely sort of a bummer seeing this era come to a close.
Yeah, it's winding down, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, I'm seeing Demon saying Cheap Trick still brings it. And I saw Cheap Trick a couple years ago, 3 years ago or whatever, and they were great. But they were literally here last night. And I got a review from somebody that was absolutely disgusted.
Yeah, I've seen Cheap Trick 4 or 5 times. I've never been a huge fan.
I'm not a huge fan.
I've never been a big fan of Cheap Trick, and I appreciate what they do.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never, in the 4 or 5 times that I've seen them, I've seen them open for Heart a couple of times, and I've seen them solo a couple of times.
Right.
And they've just never really done anything for me personally. I know there's some really hardcore Cheap Trick fans out there, and they think that they're the second coming and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've seen them 5 times, and it's just like, okay.
I judge it by the box set, and I can't listen to it.
Yeah.
I have that box set, Sex America Cheap Trick, and I can't make it through it. I just can't listen to the whole thing. Mm-hmm. I really can't listen to too many of their albums all the way through, including the big classic Budokan record.
Sure.
I don't dig it. I like some songs like everybody else. I like probably 10 songs, but and I own shit that I wish I didn't even have because I stumble across it. And they're that band for me that I always try to like, even though I don't, like I have like 14 of their albums, and I'll every once in a while I'll go to like their album Rockford or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right, today's the day I'm going to fucking find something to like on this record. And I get about halfway through and I turn it off because I'm like, oh, fuck this.
Yeah. Well, Cheap Trick to me, and this is not, making a comparison between the two, but as far as interest level,
yeah,
Cheap Trick to me is like King's X.
Fair.
I listen to them and I don't hate them, but I'm not a fan, and it's just like, it's okay, but I know that there's like really, really hardcore King's X fans out there.
Sure.
And I know that there's hardcore Cheap Trick fans out there, but I've listened to both and I've seen both.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them leave me with the same feeling like,
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, okay. But it's not because, I hate those guys or they suck or anything like that. It's just like, all right.
I mean, there's something about the Rolling Stone darlings, and I don't know what it is, but all of those bands that are Rolling Stone darlings, I generally don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And Cheap Trick is definitely one of those bands. And again, I don't hate them. And I've met Robin Zander, and he was actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
Funny guy, but, and like, what is that song? Tonight It's You. I think that's a fucking killer song. But like most of their hits, even, I'm not like, I want you to want me or whatever. I don't care if I ever hear that song again.
Sure.
And that Flame.
Yeah, the Flame. It's just called The Flame.
Yeah. I don't like that song very much either. I've tried. They're not a band I dig.
Mm-hmm.
There's not enough edge, I think, is what it is.
It's just okay. It's there.
Yeah.
It's just not a love-hate thing. It's just, okay, it's just there.
Yeah, it's somewhere between what I like and what my dad would like.
Right.
And that's not good enough for me.
Sure.
Not aggressive enough or whatever. Because even like the hair bands, I know you like the hair bands a whole lot more than I do. But the ones that I do tend to gravitate to were the more edgy ones. The Badlands or the Junkyard or stuff like that had a little bit, and most of them never made it. Love Hate. Most of those bands didn't make it for Dick, McQueen Street. But those are all the bands that I liked and they didn't fit that era. You know what I mean?
Or they were too little too late.
Yeah, it was A or B. But they didn't exactly sound like Motley Crue, Warrant, Winger, and Poison. They were either.
Yeah, and see, I was never a fan of any of those bands. The bands that I enjoyed from the quote unquote hair band era,
right,
was Dokken, obviously,
sure,
Rat,
mm-hmm.
Tesla, Cinderella. Some of the more obscure bands was like something about Wolf.
Leather Wolf.
I loved Leatherwolf. I love them too.
Mm-hmm.
She-Wolf, not She-Wolf. Shit, I can't think of the band. But the thing is I was never like into the Poison, the Warrant, the Winger. Mm-hmm. I wasn't. I know those songs, but they weren't like, man, those guys are kick ass. But I was more into the blue collar rock.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with you on every one of them that you named, but probably Cinderella.
I
like Cinderella, but I don't love Cinderella.
Mm-hmm.
I was literally listening. The only album that I truly love by Cinderella is Heartbreak Station, and it's the most un-Cinderella sounding record of the four.
Mm-hmm.
But I just liked that because it was like a bluesy rock record.
Yeah, it was very, very, had the very New Orleans style blues to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but I mean, And I don't hate any of that stuff. I mean, for the time it was fun, and it was definitely fun going and seeing all those bands out in San Francisco in the late 80s, early 90s, when they were all at their peak. But, I don't listen to very much of that stuff now. I mean, I like you, I listen to Dokken a lot. But I listen to a lot of the bands now that I didn't get worn out on in the 80s. Like Widowmaker is one that I play all the fucking time.
Sure.
And that's with like, I could play any Twisted Sister, whatever, and I go to Widowmaker just because I didn't get worn out on it. And I still play Junkyard all the fucking time, literally at least once a week. And every now and again some Rat or whatever, but even all that stuff, I listen to it when I need to. If we're doing something with Rat or something, I'll listen to it, but I like it. I like it a lot, but I don't know. I don't know. I think I need to take like a 6-month break from all the hair metal, and then I probably like it again. But right now, I'm just like not listening to. I'm listening to almost none of it these days.
Sure.
And that's that.
All right.